We can start, Jatin, with your instructions.
Yes, I'm just checking this waiting room here, which I've already. Yes, please, please. Thank you so much. We can start. Thank you.
You want to give the ground rules, Jatin?
That I'll do. Don't worry. Colonel Ashok, I'll do the ground rules, everything. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. Naresh, all yours now. Captain Naresh.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Naresh.
On behalf of GSES Chandigarh chapter, I welcome you for today's webinar, Right Behavior for EHS Leadership. And I would like to introduce today's speaker. Today we have with us Colonel Amar Bindra, who is an international motivational speaker, facilitator, and coach with 45 years of experience, accomplished professional experience. And I personally know him since many years, and he has been associated with us when I was heading HR in Ranbaxy and Sun Pharma. And he has been a very great trainer. And I have also attended a couple of workshops on his training programs. And also we have with us Mr. Dipal Vasu, SMS Director and Lead Consultant of Team Tech EHS with 14 years of experience with DuPont, ERM, Rio Tinto, Aditya Birla Group, and Vedanta Resources. So now, without wasting much time, I will hand you over to Mr. Dipal Vasu and Colonel Bindra.
Thanks a lot, Captain Naresh, for that wonderful introduction and setting the context for the webinar today. A warm welcome to one and all in the call. And on behalf of me and Colonel Amar Bindra, thank you GISES for this wonderful opportunity. So I'm a hardcore safety professional. I'm in this field of environment, health and safety from the past 15 years. Since 2019 October, I have started my own company, that is Team Tech EHS, and we are into the Indian market since then. So when the pandemic hit us, we were like a complete blackout, what to do, how to progress, those kind of a thought process was in front of us. And then to support the EHS fraternity, we come up with a lot of programs. And since then, my association with Colonel Amar Bindra started. So if I say that, since 1st of May till now, we have done around 8 programs so far, which is into various soft skills trainings for the EHS leadership. So that is the kind of collaborations which me and Amar Bindra has during this pandemic. Even though the distance is not a barrier in between us, I'm in Bangalore and he's sitting in Panchkula. So that is the wonderful synergies, which during this COVID-19 time, every one of us needs to explore. Especially when talk about environment, health and safety, this function is emerging as a leading function in the organization during this particular time of COVID. Earlier, if you look into, even the companies were not even talking about, or even the media was not even talking about health and safety. Now, even if you see, even in the medias, the leading medias in the country even also started talk about EHS as a function and safety professional or else EHS professional. So it is a great opportunity in front of all the EHS people that with your right attitude, right leadership skills, you can reach to the heights. So definitely, yes, all of us are very good into technical skills. So there is something more which is required to goes to the higher level with respect to the, into this function. So that is where the soft skills and the behaviors, the right behaviors and the today's session stands out. So now let me just give you a more context about my association with Colonel Bindra, and then I will hand over the session to Mr. Bindra to take it forward. So I know Mr. Amar Bindra, Colonel Amar Bindra from the past almost 9 years when I was working with Ultratech Cement in Kotputli, Jaipur, Rajasthan. So at that time, I was fortunate enough to attend a train the trainer session. It was a 3 days program for the emerging trainers in the plant. And thanks to Ultratech at that time, my employer of that time, they allow me to participate into this session. That was really kind of an eye opener for me. Since then, I learned a lot from that particular 3 day session, and it gives me a lot of courage to stand in front of my audience from there on. And in fact that was the kickstart of my journey as a trainer 9 years back. So in fact, Colonel Amar Bindra played a big role in shaping my skills, which is required whether you talk about a facilitation skills, a leadership skills, things like that. That is where I thought of, okay, let me go back and ring up Colonel. Even though it is 9 years, probably he might remember me. But I was amazed to get the positive response from Colonel Amar Bindra, and that is what I said. We have already done almost 8 programs since then. So he is the right person who can help us in improving our leadership skills. So with that, a warm welcome, Colonel Bindra. Over to you. Please take it forward.
Thank you, Dipal. Namaskar. That's the global way of greeting in these days of social distancing. Thank you, Dipal, for speaking so well. And thank you, Captain Naresh Kakkar, for introducing me. Thank you, Colonel Ashok Prabhakar, for giving me this opportunity, and GSES as an organization, as a platform. And I'm proud to say that I'm already a member of GSES. So in the next about an hour plus, we're going to look at some aspects of what is actually the essence of EHS. Yes, you were so far a technically sound man. You are still a person with substance. You know the policy, you know the compliance, but how does it relate to behavior? And that's something which I take you back to my own life. I joined Army very young, at the age of 16. Yes, you heard me right. National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla. I'm sure some of the audience must be also from a similar background of the armed forces and the NDA. It's called the cradle of leadership. They say you give me a boy and I give you an officer and a gentleman. A young boy with no beard, no mustache, he has a spring in his step and he has a song in his heart. He wants to carve a niche for himself. How does he do it? Yes, you're taught certain skills, starting off from weapon training to swimming, to horse riding, to physical training, to drill, etc., as a personality is developed of this guy. But what is very important is how do these skills connect with his behavior? And how is behavior different from skills is something which I would like you to connect in the program as we proceed further for the next about 90 minutes or so. So moving forward from this, let me also tell you a little bit more about my own background. I'm not a retired Army officer. I'm not even tired. How can I be retired? I voluntarily left the Army 23 years back. In fact, 2020 may be a COVID year, but it's a very remarkable landmark for me. I complete my break-even second innings. 23 years plus in the Army and 23 years in corporate life. 5 years after the Army, I sold cars. With due humility, I must share that I'm the pan-India champion in selling maximum cars in complete country. With the Maruti brand, in December 99, I have retailed 1,136 cars against a capacity of 250 cars of an outlet. Magic. The same magic which a young magician learns when he joins the National Defense Academy. And he shows that magic when he goes to the Galwan Valley. What helps him are certain behaviors. So let's talk about, yes, after selling cars for 5 years, I was in manufacturing for 5 years. That's the first time I came across our vertical that is all about environment, organizational health and safety, EHS. I made a couple of interactions for my industry, Amrit Banaspati, Khao Gagan, Raho Magan, Uncle Chips, with the Central Pollution Control Board, with the State Pollution Control Board. And I came to know the backbone of industry is actually the compliance of the industry with a bigger cause. You have to have a bigger picture. And today, the bigger picture is folding inwards in these COVID times. And let's see, what are the takeaways which could help me in understanding the situation better? So, if I go back to my slide, what are the key takeaways? I go back to, before I talk of the takeaways, let me go back to the emblem of GACS. The emblem, if you focus down below, Dipil, can you see the emblem of GACS?
Yes, Colonel, go ahead.
Global Association of Corporate Services has got three very prominent words written below it. It's called people, process, and technology. Life is about process as a EHS professional. Life is about improving through technology the way you and I are conversing this afternoon. But at the end of the day, an EHS person has to empower himself how to impact his stakeholders, how to move forward with those guys who are driven by productivity, numbers, and quality and delivery. The supply chain guys, the contractual guys, the time office guys. So first and foremost, he has to become a great communicator. Let me caution you, there is nothing new I'm going to talk about in this session. I am very much aware that you are all experienced professionals. So I don't want to carry something to you which you already know. However, I'm going to provide you with a fresh set of glasses to look at what is it that I need to do so that I become a great EHS leader. Industry leaders are known to be unit heads, HR heads, administration heads. But can an EHS leader be an industry head? I think today is the time like never before. Pandemic and COVID-19 are a great opportunity for each one of us in EHS to establish ourselves as a leader of choice. How do I do it? Number one, I pick up great communication skills. Number two, I also look at how can I use the power of influencing. We're going to talk about influencing a little differently than we normally understand. Today is a world of influencers. People who are shaping the environment, people who are shaping the safety, people who are shaping the organizational health. However, in my own little world, how can I be an influencer? And the last part is, of course, turning assertive to say no. Will I be a yes man in these difficult times? There is a lot of pressure on the industry, which I'm advising as a consultant or as a support system, as a function. I have to say yes to everything. Or sometimes, politely and firmly, I have to say no. So these are three important areas that we are going to discuss in the next couple of hours or so that we have, an hour and a half, or if whatever is left of it. But now the first question which should come to your mind is, Colonel, you're talking of very common skills. Then why are you talking of behaviors then? How is this program about behavior when you're talking of communication skill, influencing skill, assertiveness skill? So let me give you a very simple formula to understand. When you want to become a good driver, the first thing required is driving skills. But knowing driving skills does not make you a safe driver on the road. What makes you, beyond the driving skill, to be a wonderful driver on the road, safe for others, safe for yourself, and safe for your co-passengers, is something which I've tried to show by this simple example. And that example is skills plus belief is equal to behavior. Let me explain. Any of these skills, this common knowledge, are very much required. But how many of us believe that these skills are important for me in today's time and place? That's a question which you need to reflect on. Skill remains a skill, but the belief in the importance of that skill becomes my behavior to be changed. Initially, I find that behavior very unsafe, very uncomfortable. But as I practice it, it becomes a way of life with me, that I am now the kind of behavior which is required of an EHS person who was so far known for his technical thinking, his audit, his compliance. Today, he is going to take this industry to greater heights of productivity and quality. So skills plus belief. Again, it goes back to the armed forces. When we have a skilled soldier, that's his skill. But his belief in those skills makes him develop a will. And with that will, he has a behavior which makes him shine, and people wonder, why is he doing this? Why is he so set apart from others? So I hope I made my point of making you understand that these three skills are some awareness that we'll bring today. But remember, with each skill goes a belief so as to impact your behavior. So let me quickly set some ground rules in terms of this session before we dive deep into these three aspects. So what are the ground rules? Number one is, we expect each one of you to focus. It starts from the Honorable Prime Minister when he announces the Janta curfew. He says, Sanyam, Sanyam Sankalp. And these two have been the message from him throughout for the last more than 3 months. So ensure that you are seated in a space free from distraction. The distraction is to hold your attention. Let me assure you, with our experience of the last few, Dipil and my experience, virtual sessions are very tough to concentrate. Research has shown that your attention span is the shortest in a virtual session. There is no dynamics, and yet you are required to focus. So number one is, your focus is your own accountability. Number two, of course, is participate actively through option of chat. Now, you all are familiar with the option of chat. Could you try this? My good friend Dipil is watching the chat, and we expect you to chat and give your options. And the next ground rule is, please mute your audio. We have already muted all of you. However, if you are required to speak and we unmute you, please mute yourself quickly, because that will also keep the discipline as far as the focus is concerned. We are also looking at not just a webinar. You know, when we were in NDA, any instructor used to come with so many slides. When he used to go out, somebody used to press the escape switch to see how many slides are there. We used to call it death by PowerPoint. What is happening today is a little bit of fatigue because of webinars. So first and foremost, let's not call this session a webinar. Let's call it a virtual mutual interaction. So put across your questions, and towards the end of the session, we will also give you an opportunity to come live, time permitting. In the meanwhile, put across your comments on the chat, and we will see how and when we can address them. Respect the program schedule. Now, I want to confirm from Jatin. Jatin, is the session being recorded? Jatin, can you just confirm?
Yes, Colonel. In fact, it is on YouTube Live as well.
Okay, so very fine. So the session is being recorded, and your attendance will be deemed as your consent that you are aware that you are live on camera. I will share some examples, like I've already started sharing some examples. I request you to apply these examples to your own vertical, to your own work. Each one of you may not be an EHS professional. Some of you might be veterans, some of you might be in facilities. You got a choice to apply the examples which I am sharing to your own life. Yes, are there any immediate questions? Dipil, can you have a look at the chat? We invite questions at this stage.
Nothing, Colonel. We can go ahead.
All right. So everybody's comfortable, and let's lift the curtain on the first skill called communication skills. Very, very, very obvious that what is so great about communication skills. Let me give you a different perspective of communication skills. If you look at me right now, I'm speaking to you. There are two very important aspects, even in a virtual session like this. One is what I'm speaking, and the second is how I'm speaking. This is the time to pause and reflect that what is actually impacting you more. And that is where you have to pause and reflect in industry today. People are stressed. People are very scared. They have a lot of unanswered questions. So what impacts them more? Is it what you speak, or is it also how you speak? Let's dive a little deeper inside this beautiful topic a little more. So communication skills, like I said, are coming from verbal, that is spoken or written. Very obvious what I'm speaking. Written is what are my slides. In your case, it could be mail, it could be a memo. This is actually what you speak, what you write, and it is called the content. The content part of your communication is the verbal part of your speaking. Our compliance, our policy, our social distancing norms, our marking, the way it should be done in the industry, is all part of what you speak. Whether it is a toolbox meeting or whether it's a review with the industry leaders in your unit, somewhere you are focusing on what you speak. But there is a huge part of something called non-verbal. It's not only what you speak, it's how you speak. Now, this is very important. This shows your intent. Body language, facial expression, and voice. This is all about compliance, and this is your intention about the compliance. This is all about your knowledge, and this is all about your sincerity. This is all about your words, and this is all about your emotions. So guys, it's time as an EHS leader today, you not only look at what you're speaking, but how you're displaying your intention. And if you want to care for the industry, your non-verbal cues should be that you care for the stakeholders. You care for the frontline people. You care for the productivity. You care for the preventive maintenance. How does it happen? Let me share with you some research which some of you might have come across. It's called Albert Mehrabian model. A guy in the US did this study of what you speak versus how you speak. Now here's the surprising part. These are the 3 V's: the visual, the vocal, and the verbal. Verbal obviously is what you speak. Research says that the impact through words is only 7%. 93% is through what you see, and what you see, the change and the emotion and the voice power. Let me not stick to these percentages. If you contest it, please go ahead and contest it. It varies from situation to situation. All that I'm saying is the opportunity for an EHS leader to impact industry is not only through what he speaks, but also how he speaks. So let me go a little deeper into these 3 V's. What are these 3 V's standing for, and understand them a little better. The 3 V's of communication: the visual, the vocal, and the verbal. This, I said, is giving you opportunity of 7%. This is giving you opportunity of 93%. Your appearance, very important. You see, every time Donald Trump comes on the screen, yes, his tie is in place, his suit is in place, but his mask is never in place. How seriously do the Americans taking him by his appearance? I'm not too sure. How serious he is about protecting fellow Americans? I'm not too sure. But visual is the first contact in making the first impression. So your appearance, your posture, your eye contact, your facial expressions, your gestures, your random body movements, and your movement as an individual itself. Then comes the power of the voice, volume, pitch, tone. The pitch is very important. It's harness. It's not harness. it's work permit, it's incident. These are some terms which you are used to. But if you make them flat, they will fall flat. These are times for you to practice the rate of your speech. Enunciation. Enunciation is a proclamation with the correct pronunciation. And you say, इस मार्च से जनता कर्फ्यू होगा. That's how the Prime Minister does it. And in intonation is the raising and lowering of your voice. Use of pauses. Now, pauses are connected with fillers. I'll come back to this. Last is the verbal. Words also have a definite impact. So organizing your structure, introduction, main body, concise wording, sentence structure, grammar, what to watch out for. Now, this is very, very critical for EHS. There are acronyms, there are jargons. We are used to them, but are my other stakeholders used to them? I must be careful. Fillers and non-words. Now, most of us have this problem of fillers. Fillers are those words which are not required, which we repeat, and sometimes they are not even words. They are just sounds. Right, right, clear, clear. These are fillers. Each one of us has a fillers. And each one of us also has something called MTI, mother tongue influence. Today, your role is a global world. For foreigners, we call it accent. For Indians, we may call it MTI, mother tongue influence. Today is the time for us to practice our mother tongue influence to be reduced and make our voice neutral so that people do not take out a different meaning, because we are a person who is relating with the policy, and we are the guy who has understood the policy so as to be given to the industry. So what do? I think it is the power of the pauses. I must pause. Pause is nothing but more confidence. We have been made to think that pause means I don't know the subject, so I speak fast. It's called a pregnant pause. The pause which carries in its womb a deeper meaning. Like one of the best speakers in the world, Barack Obama, he says, there is no white America. There is no black America. There is no rich America. There is no poor America. There is no straight America. There is no gay America. There is only the United States of America. Of course, we have a great example of pauses by our own Honorable Prime Minister. And you could have seen some of your own leaders who are beautiful in this. It applies a lot to you. Do not take the 3 V's for granted. The whole policy which you are downloading, down to the last chap on the frontline technician, depends on how you speak to him and also what you speak to him. Any questions on the chat? You are at liberty to ask, to context. Ask me for examples. Ask me for further things. You are at full liberty to do that. Dipil, anything on the chat, please?
Nothing so far. We're clear.
Guys, let me caution you once again. This is not really a hardcore webinar. This is a reflection session. You know, in the armed forces, we always say that reflection is the best part of learning. When a fighter pilot goes on a sortie and he comes back from the sortie, which is gone at Mach so much speed, precision and strategic flying, his overalls are wet with sweat. But when he comes back to the crew room, you know what he does? He's asked by his CO to go to the blue book. Now it's a drill, skills through drill. He goes to the blue book and he pauses. He looks back and thinks, what went well in the sortie and what could have gone better in the sortie? And what is my learning from what has gone well and what has not gone well? And how do I write it down in my blue book so that my next sortie is better than the last one? As a EHS leader today, you have to pick up this culture. You have to have a culture of an EHS blue book. You should be reflecting, because in today's time, nobody can be accountable for your learning. You yourself have to be practicing your skills so as to change your behavior and to show that you are now learning and improving your next 30, the next quarter. And when the industry opens, it should not just stand. It should stand and run. And that's where your dream as a EHS is. And when you write your book, you will say, I made a contribution to the way I spoke to people, the way I connected with people. If there are no questions, let me move to the next skill. So the next skill is influencing skills. Now, what is influencing skills? We have the world of influencers these days, especially in lockdown. One of my greatest influencer is my dear wife, Neera. She incidentally is also in this business with me of imparting learning and development to people. She's done programs with a lot of organizations, including where I work with ICICI Bank, Aditya Birla Group. So both of us get into this, sometimes a very meaningful discussion, sometimes into heated arguments, and sometimes also to not so pleasantry language. But does that stop us from trying to influence the other person? No. Why not? Because influencing skills is something which is going to lead to each other's development. Now, what exactly is influencing skills? Let me give you a simple definition of what is influencing skills. Influencing skills is all about behaving in ways that offers others the invitation to change. Now, you influence someone to change. To change what? His behavior, his attitude, his thoughts and ways. Simple. No. You know something? What's the challenge in this? The challenge is you have zero or very little authority on that person. If you take a deep breath right now and make a list of all those people whom you are required to influence, you'll be surprised. Most of them, or even none of them, you have authority over. And that's the beautiful part of influencing, where you change people's thinking, their way of dealing with safety, because they have no authority, you have no authority, but they have a choice. So what do you do when you have to influence people? So that is a question which we need to address at this stage. You are a great communicator. We have talked about verbal and non-verbal. We have talked about content and intent. We have talked about also knowing knowledge, but knowledge is not learning. When I have belief in what I know, then I change my behavior, and change in behavior is learning. So what exactly is the part of influencing skills? In influencing skills, the quality of the interaction is the start of my influence. It could start at home. Have you tried influencing your child to attend his online classes regularly? Have you tried your child to see less of TV during this lockdown time? So what do? You do the same thing which you will be required to do with other stakeholders. First is the interaction. The quality of the interaction controls the quality of the trust that he places in you. And that trust develops into a wonderful relationship. And when you have a relationship, he gets influenced by you. He has a different regimen. He sits down for his homework, and your guy, he develops what is called patience, whether it is at the time office or whether it is on the shop floor. He has a relationship now with you as an EHS professional. You are no longer looked as a policeman who's auditing them. You are looked at someone who's assuring the quality of their safety, the quality of their environment, and the quality of the organizational health. So how do we look at interaction? You could, at this stage, express your differences, express your opinion, express your queries. So in terms of interaction, number one is rapport building. Rapport building is what we call a connection with people. Let's go to a child. Do you straight away ask him, have you done your homework? That's the wrong question. I think it's a great idea to establish friendship by asking him questions which are not related to his work, something which are related to his life other than work. So you will have to do something called a little preparation. Do not get into interaction without preparation, because conversation without preparation is a very poor conversation. So what kind of preparation you need to do? Before you go and address a group of workers, before you address a group of supervisors, or before you make a presentation to your senior management in industry, preparation is knowing about their challenges. Step into their shoes. Look at the world from their eyes. You are a highly technical person. You are a process-driven person. But they are not like that. Their process is only about productivity, about packaging, about dispatches, about sales, about marketing. So when you do a little homework, you are able to establish rapport. Then you ask questions. You ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are actually questions which provoke the other person to think before he answers. He reflects, and then he thinks, and then he answers. Oh, close-ended questions are very obvious questions. They have short answers, yes, no, this, that. But when you ask, what is it that we need to do in the transportation of workers so that they come in time for the shift and yet social distancing is maintained? What are some of the things that we could do in the shift when the manpower has to run the productivity with 33% strength, and yet we have no cases of COVID-19 in our industry? So what happens is you are interacting with a person by what is called balancing advocacy and inquiry. Now, balancing advocacy and inquiry means normally we are into advocacy, telling. We want to tell him, do this, wear a mask, SMS. SMS means sanitizer, mask, social distancing. No. He knows it. Everybody knows it. The whole world knows it. You need to ask. And that is called balancing advocacy and inquiry. We are always into advocacy and telling. As an EHS person, as an EHS leader, practice and behave so as to be an inquirer. And when you inquire from them with open-ended questions, they speak. And when they speak, then you are required to listen. Obvious, isn't it? But not so obvious. Listening has become a weakness. Everybody wants to tell the industry that you listen to me, everything will be clear. But time has come for us to first seek to understand them, then to be understood. Look at the source of knowledge that they are. Look at the source of experience they are. Maybe you don't come on B and C shift. Those guys on the line come on B and C shift. Get a perspective of safety on B and C shift. Understand where social distancing goes for a toss in the middle of the night. What challenges are people having when they have their meals in the canteen? These are some questions which will, when you ask, you become wiser by listening. But there is a challenge. Now, what is that challenge? Let us again go to a research. And this time it's called Paul Rankin research. Those of you who want to take screenshots, you're welcome, because I'm mentioning some words. You could even take notes. The idea is that do not accept any of my research quoted on the blank face value. Do a little deep research on whatever I'm quoting and see how it works for you. So Paul Rankin says 70% of our waking time is spent in communicating. Now in that 70%, only 9% is in writing mails, etc. Or these days WhatsApp messages. 16% is in reading. 30% is in speaking, but 45% is in listening. Today, this 45% of listening has become very, very, yes. Redmi raised a hand. Now, who raised a hand? Yes. Somebody raised a hand?
I think no, Colonel.
Okay,
can
I
go
saw a
ahead.
hand being raised.
Okay. So for nothing I
Yogesh
can see
Nikam
here.
raised a hand. Yogesh Nikam has raised a hand. Good. So Yogesh Nikam, can you put, and Swapnil has also
Okay.
raised a hand. Very good. So can you put this on the chat, people who have raised their hand, and just write your initial thought, whether it is on this particular slide or it is on the previous slide. And what is the
Yeah.
question?
Go ahead, Colonel. So maybe after this slide, we can take up the questions. There is another one question already in the chat.
All right. So 45% of the time I am required to listen. And today, if you look at your home also, listening is very important. It starts with your spouse, it starts with your family. And when you go to work, why listening so important? Research has shown that COVID times are a time when your learning is your own accountability. You will learn by listening. You'll get a perspective. With social distancing, most of the time you will be on virtual presence. You can get to see what the other person can see. You know, again, quoting from the armed forces, we say victory is still measured by the foot. It's the foot soldier who has to be listened to by the commander to get a perspective of the enemy action. And that is where number one is your own learning can come with listening. The second and the more important thing is the way Dipil and me have collaborated in these last 2-3 months and created this vertical which we are today showing it to you through the good offices of GACS. It comes with collaboration, and collaboration happens only with listening. Research, whatever little has been done in these COVID times, shows that individual performers are going to fade away. It's the teamwork, cross-functional synergy, which is going to deliver the goods, be it in the family or be it in the industry, be it in any function of the industry. So what do you do when you have to listen? It's called active listening. Now, what exactly is active listening? First of all, make eye contact. Don't be looking at something else when somebody is talking to you. I'm trying to do eye contact with you right now. I'm tempted to read my slides, but I'm looking at the camera. Why? Because every one of you attending this call should feel that I'm speaking to you, to you, to you. Otherwise, listening is caring is lost. So first and foremost, make nice, sweet, eye-to-eye contact. Children always say, I like that teacher because she makes eye-to-eye contact. Exhibit affirmative head nods. Must show that you are understanding the person. Have a nice facial expression. You have to be connected with the person through your facial expression. Avoid distraction and distracting gestures. Do not pick up your mobile. Do not play with your watch. Do not play with your spectacles. Just show that you are focused and aligned. Ask questions. Ask open-ended questions to get clarity, to show. If you're not asking me questions now, I am very much in doubt whether you are listening to what I'm speaking in this virtual session. And that's why I'm saying again and again, ask questions. Paraphrase. It's a very powerful tool in EHS. People will come and relate their challenges. You have to prove it to them that you have heard them and you have understood them. And that is paraphrasing. It's like going home and asking your wife, how was your day? And she says, what day? Today there was a power cut and there was a cat came from somewhere and she spoiled the milk and I cut my hand on the vegetables. All that you're required to say is, I think, dear, you had a very tough day. Paraphrasing is not only for words, it is for feelings. We are having a tough time in social distancing at the time office, on the shop floor. I can see that social distancing is making your life more challenged. So whether it is at home or whether it is in the industry, paraphrasing is a proof that you have listened and understood. The next part is don't overtalk. Don't talk. Today, when we move from fear zone to learning zone to growth zone in COVID-19, practice quietude, an attitude of remaining quiet, and talk less and listen more. You can sometimes speak through listening. Don't interrupt. While somebody is speaking, remember, there is a smooth transaction between the role of speaker and listener. I'm sure you're finding these very obvious, but today, time has come that we are taking the obvious for granted. And that obvious has to be applied to the new normal. And that is why the obvious is not so obvious, because my behavior is required to change because of the new normal. Okay, anything which you said would come up in the questions, Dipal?
Yes, Colonel. So we have one question, which is from Mr. Rajendra.
Yeah.
He is asking, what are the steps for increase the behavior of employees on EHS aspects?
Beautiful. So, what's the name of the good gentleman?
Mr. Rajendra.
Rajendra, thank you for asking the question, and that's a very meaningful question. So, if you look back in the session so far, if you want people's behavior to change, you have to become a great communicator. So, you have to change your own behavior. Can you place an honest hand on your heart and say, yes, I'm truly and truly a good listener? Am I truly speaking through my good non-verbal language? Are my mails very cryptic? What is the tone in my mails? What is the tone in my WhatsApp? So perhaps when you get, Rajendran, all the other aspects of this session, you will be in a position to say that, yes, I can not only change the behavior of other people on EHS vertical, I can make EHS doable even at home. When we talk of a safety norm, which is as applicable at home as it is in industry. And today, the more you practice at home, the less you are challenged at work. It's again going to the armed forces, a very simple principle. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So it's got to be in your DNA. And your aim should be that this guy is looking up to me and I'm the expert. If I can put that thing in his mind through the way what is in it for him, perhaps he will realize it, that it is in his interest and the interest of the industry that he must stick to the EHS norms. I hope I have addressed your question, Rajendra. Otherwise, you will get some more material in the next couple of minutes. Please confirm how has the answer been so far on the chat.
Thanks, Colonel. Maybe Rajendra, you can just answer to that question. You can just put your answer, whether you're satisfied with the answer or not, in the chat. So by the time, Colonel, we have another question by
Very good.
Dr. Mani Prakash.
Okay, Dr. Mani.
Dr. Mani Prakash. So he's
All right.
asking about public speaking.
Okay.
So some people during public speaking says that if you have a stage fear, ignore that people are there in the meeting. In that situation, how you manage the eye contact?
Good point, Mani. See, eye contact will never be easy to make. And even the best of speakers have stage fright. If I tell you that I don't have stage fright, then it's a white lie. So first of all, idea is not to avoid stage fright. Idea is to handle the stage fright. Again, coming from the armed forces. In those situations of handling the terrorists, do you think the leader is not scared? He has fear. He has fear of the unknown enemy. But leadership is all about overcoming that fear so that that fear disappears in the eyes of his team. So when you have stage fear, your first job is to stand up in front of the audience so that they see you and not the fear that you have inside you. And eye contact will help you. People will always support you, provided your preparation is thorough. A model which I always share with people, Dr. Mani, is called PTT. It's a very simple: preparation, timing, and tone. To overcome stage fear, you must practice. That's preparation. Timing. Whom are you making the presentation? When are you making the presentation? How long is the preparation? You know, this session was starting at 4:30. You know what did Colonel Ashok insist? He's the convener here. He insisted that we should be here at 4:10. Why do you think we should come 20 minutes earlier? Because we want to overcome our stage fear. We want to take help from my good friend Jatin in overcoming the technology fear. So preparation, timing, and tone. Tone is that aspect of what you speak, which evokes the right emotion in the other person. And that also addresses the question of Rajendra, that you have to have the right tone to evoke the right emotion in the other person. Like right now, I'm trying to do with you. Have I answered your question, Dr. Mani? But practice is the only way out, especially in front of the mirror.
Great. And thanks, Colonel, for that. Maybe Dr. Mani, please confirm whether Colonel satisfactorily answered your question. Colonel, maybe let us take 2 more questions, then we go ahead.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dipil. Thank you.
So Mr. Surendra is asking 2 questions. First question, is it okay to mix language, English and Hindi, while addressing the people? Second question, he is asking, while speaking, people have a habit of repeating the word. How to overcome that? 2 questions
Very
from
realistic.
Surendra.
Surendra, am I right?
Surendra Bisht.
Surendra Bisht. Bisht is from the Pahadi Ilakas. Surendra, your questions are very, very realistic. First question is about language. So let me first tell you, as a EHS professional today, language is to express and not to impress. Language is to express and not to impress. If it requires you to mix things up in Hindi and English, there is nothing wrong in it. But who is required to be comfortable? The speaker or the audience? The audience, my friend. You can't stand in front of your management board and say, gentlemen, I am comfortable only in Hindi. So with your permission, can I speak in Hindi? No, no, no. If they are comfortable in English, you will have to speak in English. The norm is express and not impress. The comfort of the audience stands first and foremost before everything else. The second is repetition. Sometimes the words are coming, what I spoke in my slide of the 3 V's, as fillers. When we repeat as fillers, it doesn't give a very impactful impression. But when we repeat to reiterate and re-emphasize, harness at what height? Little less than 2 meters. What did I say? Little less than 2 meters. So you are not repeating the words, you are repeating the thought to re-emphasize, to reinforce, and to make it permanently cemented in the volatile memory of your audience. Remember, safety is not everybody's game. Safety has to be ingrained. So if you have to repeat, please repeat, but not the words, the thought. I hope I have answered your question, Surendra Bisht.
Great, Colonel. Thank you very much. So probably you can go ahead. We will take further questions later.
With that, we come to another aspect of influencing, and that is called building trust. My personal recommendation is that please go and look for this guy, David Horsager, on the YouTube. Now, who's David Horsager? David Horsager, though he's a behavioral scientist, has spoken in a World Economic Forum on what is called the trust edge. He says, if you have trust with your stakeholder, you will always have an edge in your vertical. So he calls them the 8 pillars or the 8 C's. Let's go through one by one these 8 C's of trust. Number 1 is consistency. People love to see little things done consistently. It matters not when you go to the dentist, but it matters that you brush your teeth twice every day for 10 minutes. It matters not when you hold a big presentation for the Safety Week and the World Environment Day. It matters if you regularly address some meetings every day on issues of safety. Clarity. Don't be ambiguous. Be very clear in your message. Compassion. Remember, they are more challenged than you. They don't understand what's happening. Understand, put yourself in their shoes. Character. Character does not mean anything, but it is integrity. It is a choice between what is right and what is convenient. As a EHS person, many a times the unit people will tell you to do what is convenient. Your character is to consistently do what is right over what is convenient. Contribution. Please respond to others' results. Please contribute to productivity. Please contribute to maintenance. Please contribute to HR. Please contribute to security. Get out of your comfort zone. Competency. This is your forte. You are looked up as a subject matter expert. You are no longer checking them for mistakes. You are now supporting them so that they don't make mistakes. That's your competency with character. Connection. We have already talked about rapport building and commitment. The Prime Minister's word is Sankalp. And that commitment has stopped 140 crore Bharatvashi thukna band kar denge. 1.4 billion Indians have stopped spitting. You don't see spitting on the road now. Well, there are exceptions. But that commitment makes us change our behavior and you become trustworthy. So examine these 8 C's, and out of these 8 C's comes out a very big C, and that is called collaboration. Your collaboration with other stakeholders. So that just about finishes your 3 skills. Become a great, 2 skills, great communicator, and then influencing skills. So now we come to what else is required in influencing. The 3 keys. The head, heart, and hand. As a EHS person, you should not only be using head, but also heart and hand. As we go down, it becomes more and more difficult. Let us understand what is this. So, as a subject matter expert, what we normally do is you use logic, pros and cons and consequences. How do we build up? We use data. We tell data, so many cases have happened in that village. That is why it has become a containment zone. So many fresh cases. And how can we be using the head? When we are prepared, we are competent, and we are knowledgeable. This is only the start of the journey, where today we have to look and change our behavior in influencing people is the use of the heart. We have to bond with people. We have to establish rapport with people. You have to establish a connection with people. How to build it? Develop trust. Serve them. And how can we be? Empathetic. People, nature, and serving nature. You are a support function for the industry to be dependent on. So now the third is the hand. What to use? Go ahead. Do a joint work with them. You tell them where to mark, what to mark, how to form the queues, how to maintain social distancing. Co-create with them. How to build it up? By having an attitude of help and partnering. How can we be? When we are active and supportive. Your biggest enemy is not using your hand, is your comfort zone. It's called the law of inertia. An EHS official continues to remain in his state of rest or continuous motion unless acted upon by an external force. And that external force or choice to change and become a EHS leader of choice. Any question on the 3 keys so far? So that brings me to the last and the most difficult behavior. That is called assertive behavior. My one mistake can get a notice to the industry. My one mistake can lead to the industry being shut down. My one mistake can leave a dent in the complete goals of the industry for this financial year. So how do I handle this situation? I have to remember that sometimes I have to be respected and not liked. If I choose between being liked and being respected, then I'm going to play on compliance and policy. So I need to understand what is it that I need to do. So what is assertiveness? It starts with a belief in yourself. I am knowledgeable. I am successful. I am confident. With these 3 words, you go and address your stakeholders. Assertiveness is based on a philosophy. It's philosophy of personal responsibility. I am responsible for the safety of my front-end workers. I am responsible for the environment, and with my work on EHS, I am responsible for the sustainability of the industry in which I work in. But in my responsibility and accountability, I have certain rights and duties. My duty is to be aware of the latest opening policies, industry policies, state regulatory authorities, but I have a right, and I have a right to ensure that the policy is implemented. My management has a right to ask me what is the latest change in the policy, but I have a duty to be given a time in the review meeting so as to I explain sufficiently what needs to be explained to the stakeholders. So my rights are their duties, and their duties are my rights. So it's going hand in hand. I have to ensure that. I have to ensure that without fear. If I am having fear, I will become submissive. An EHS person cannot show the behavior of fear. He cannot be shaky. He goes into with his head high in the industry. He walks into the conference room with his head held high. And he has to understand that he must know his job. So if I am having fear, I am submissive. And I cannot afford to get irritated at non-compliance. I cannot raise my voice. If I raise my voice, I am aggressive. So no submissive, no aggressive, but only assertive, where I speak confidently and clearly what I want to speak and what needs to be spoken. In Hindi, it is called mukhur. Mukhur means, if I'm allowed to use a little bit of Hindi with permission from South Indians, people from South India and other places, I should be able to speak. मैं अपनी बात स्पष्टता से रख सकूं, बिना घबराए, बिना डरे और बिना चिल्लाए. Without fear, with confidence, without shouting. I am knowledgeable. I've done my homework. I'm prepared. Then why shouldn't I get time from my management? Why shouldn't I get budget for ETP? Why shouldn't I get budget for buying enough masks? Why should there be reuse of masks without proper sanitation? These are some questions I need to address. So 3 steps. How do I make it practical? This is actually putting in place how to say no. So the 3 steps are: step number 1, actively listen to what is being said and show that you have both heard the other person and understood him or her. This is called paraphrasing. Be it with your spouse, be it with your boss, be it with a cross-functional leader in industry, first you have to give him proof that you have heard him and you have understood him. Step number 2, say what you feel or what you think. Step number 3 is very important. Don't leave him here. Give him a common solution. For example, your industry leader, say head of production, calls you and says, today I am calling for additional manpower. So we have to pump in additional manpower in B shift so as to stick to the productivity schedules. So now you have to say no, because he wants permission from you. The managing director or the senior management has given you the right that they should seek permission from you, because you know you have the latest policy in your tips. So first and foremost, you have to tell him, I can understand that you are under pressure of production. I can also see that you want additional manpower in B shift. However, additional manpower increases the risk of people coming from containment zone, people deviating from social norming. Can we do one thing, sir? Can we appoint some supervisors, addition to those which are there, who will ensure that with 33% product strength, they can still push on the productivity in a 12-hour shift? Industry has sought this as a solution, where industry is having 12-hour shift now. I'm not giving you a solution. I'm giving you the methodology to say no. What is very important is note, between step 1 and step 2, you have to use the word however. Do not say the word but. That means the changeover from his point of view to your point of view has to be very smooth, has to be very friendly, has to be very connected, and has to be very supportive. Another example can be in personal life. Your spouse tells you that there are some very new movies which have come on the Netflix. And tonight, we will sit together as a family. The younger children have been put to sleep, and we will see a late night movie show. So you have to use the 3 steps again. Step number 1, I can understand that you are very keen to see a movie on Netflix, as we have not sat down together and seen a movie together for a long time. However, I have 8:30 review meeting tomorrow morning, for which I have to be prepared tonight. Sweetheart, can we do this on this Saturday on the weekend? I will make sure on Sunday I have nothing pending. So the word however and the emotions. Any questions on 3 steps in saying no? In EHS, it is very, very critical, very, very vital in understanding to say no. Right. Having done the all 3 skills, communication, wonderful communication. Influencing, yes, steps in influencing. Building trust and being assertive. Building trust to build relationship. Tomorrow morning, Dipil is hosting a program called Power of One. This is an international program which we do, and it's 11:30 to 1:30. Those of you who are interested, I'll give you Dipil's contacts a little later. Can always talk of how do we move beyond trust to relationships, and how do we impact relationships to impact results. It all starts with these behaviors. Any questions at this stage? Yes, Dipil, have a look at the chat. Dipil, are you with me? No. Okay. Dipil seemed to be not here. All right. So with that, I also invite Jatin there. Jatin.
Yes, Colonel Vindra, tell me.
Yeah, Jatin, can you just have a look? I think we have lost maybe Dipil somewhere. Doesn't matter. Can you see if any question has come up, Jatin, on the chat?
No, I don't think so. There's no question here. Let me do one thing. Let me unmute Colonel Ashok Prabhakar. I is messaging. Just one second.
All right. Okay. Yeah, Ashok. Is there anything you see on the chat which you would like to be discussed at this stage?
No, I don't see anything.
All right.
Chat box.
So,
Yes, thanks, Kal. Sir, thanks, wonderful Kal Amar sir. Please
Yeah,
go
yeah. So
ahead.
as a last
Yeah.
part, sorry, I will invite their questions by unmuting them. So these are our contacts. I'll just come back to you, Ashok sir. So my question is, let us make the work safer. Let us practice these behaviors. I am here. You can take a screenshot. This is Dipple, and we are on all these social media also. And thank you so much. Yes, and now we can open the house for question answers. Yes, over to Ashok sir. Ashok, take the lead in terms of question session.
Thank you, sir. I think I'll keep my questions for the end. In the meantime, let's have the audience. Folks, we've had a wonderful session. Surendra, Dr. Saab, you all had wonderful questions. Anybody else, anything comes to your mind, please go ahead quickly. We have about 3-4 minutes before we come to the vote of thanks. Anybody? I suppose, Amar sir, I know the session has been so
Oh, yeah.
wonderful. In fact,
Abhiman Pali is raising his hand.
Yeah.
Abhiman
Please,
Pali. Can we allow him to unmute himself, Jatin? Abhiman Pali? Abhiman? Let's hear the... No. Okay. Abhiman, can you put it on the chat?
Yeah, you put it on
Yes.
the chat, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir. It was a privilege to listen to you.
Oh, thank you.
And my one question was there that can you just throw some light on the words you used, liked and respected?
Beautiful. Abhiman. It comes from your name.
My name
Somebody
is
has
Ashok.
named you Abhiman.
My
So
name is
now-
Ashok Bimanpalli.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, what did you say, Abhiman? Vishnupalli. Okay, doesn't matter. So I'll answer your question. See, many times the way I am designed as an EHS person, I felt people were not really giving me the kind of importance that I was getting all these years. Now suddenly COVID has happened and people are wanting me to give them the policy, the compliance, the yardsticks, the unwinding and the opening, etc., etc., etc. But I have to remember what we call in the armed forces the Shetwoodian principle. When a young lieutenant gets commissioned in the Indian Military Academy, Colonel Ashok knows it, he gets pipped. So when he takes his antim step, the last step, now it's called the first step to the new life, he reads what is called the Shetwood principle on the top. You know, Abhiman, what the principle says? It says the safety, security, and the welfare of my country comes first, always and every time. The safety, security, and welfare of the men I command comes next. My own safety, security, and welfare comes last, always and every time. So when I have this Shetwood principle, I have to tell myself the safety of the organization comes first. The safety of the people comes next. My own comfort comes last. And in that case, I will have the need to be respected and not to be liked. Liking is very easy. It's called cheap popularity. But today time has come when I have to take a firm stand. For the sake of others, I have to learn to say no. And I will be respected in the long run for the guy who made a difference by his no and not by being a yes man. Have I answered your question? Please put it on the chat. Or you can raise your finger like this. Yeah. Dr. Mani Prakash raised a hand. Yes. Mani Prakash, would you like to be on chat or would you like to unmute yourself? I don't know. Anyway, I leave it to Colonel Ashok Prabhakar now to take it forward. I'd like me to address Colonel Mani, Mr. Dr. Mani's question, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Mani.
Yeah, it has been a wonderful session, and I felt delighted to attend this. Let me tell you, after so many days of working from home, I felt very much activated with your talk. That's first thing I wanted to say. Second thing is like I just put that question on the chart. Anyway, I mean, while I was typing the question itself, you have answered through your talk. So I don't want to bother that. But only one thing reminds me again and again is like, being an EHS professional, always your words will be either ignored or will be taken light during several sessions that happen with officials, with workers, as well as other I mean project related people. So see, your words certainly are boosting, and we certainly feel confident to attend any situation and can speak. But thing is, how to overcome this, because this becomes monotonous after some time.
Beautiful.
You understand, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
Dr.
After
Mani,
some time it becomes, yeah.
you know, your
please.
name is Aravali. Aravali
Yeah.
are the hills.
Yes.
Mani, Dr. Mani, you
Yes,
have
sir.
given the answer in your own question.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have said that, how will I make the impact when I focus on how?
Yeah.
My intent, mera irada. In Hindi we say irada.
Yes.
Is my intent just compliance, or is my intent their safety because they implement the compliance? So how do I convey it? Like I'm conveying in this session.
Yes.
All the points which I'm saying are doable.
Yes.
They are not easy. I have not come here to make your life easy. I've come here to make your life difficult, however, more meaningful. So Dr. Mani, as a EHS senior person,
Yes.
you have to make their life difficult, but more meaningful. And how you speak dawns the meaning of compliance of policy and EHS vertical. I hope I've clarified your question.
Yes, sir. That's nice. Would you mind to answer me? I mean, one more query, like, whatever session you are saying tomorrow, can you please share those links?
Mani, can you just connect with this guy, Dipil Kumar Vasu, right now?
Sure,
You can take a
sure.
shot of this,
Sure.
okay? And you can connect with him.
Right. Thank
So
you.
right now, let us focus on this. However, I told you that Dipil and me are doing this EHS journey for the last 2 months.
Oh,
And so that tomorrow is the 9th step in that journey. We have 12 steps journey, like the Alcoholic Anonymous, 12 steps. So we are on the 9th step tomorrow for EHS professionals.
yes.
What I talked today was the first step on 1st of May.
Okay.
This is the start. This is the start of a new life. So this is neither the end of the beginning nor the beginning of the end. This is the start
Unfortunately,
of a beautiful.
I missed out all those 9 steps. That's where I'm feeling sorry for that.
Never mind, you're most welcome to catch up with this. The recordings are available. Everything is available. Where there is a will, there is always an EHS way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else? Sir, really appreciate Colonel Bindra, sir. In fact, this is the first time I'm finding not only so many appreciations, people are coming forward, from the response as far as the questions are concerned, the response as far as appreciation is concerned, both in the chat box and personally, people are coming across. It's been wonderful, sir. Folks, today we've seen something really different. As EHS managers, our understanding of EHS was limited to, there'll be those rules, safety rules, fire exit, evacuation, going by the rules, sustainability, those kind of things we were working day in, day out. But you're not touching on the human aspect also. I think a small thing, the human aspect, has a major bearing on all the other activities. If your behavior, if your standing in the organization is in place, your word will carry a weight in the organization. Unfortunately for us, most of us, our communication need improvement. Our communication may not be at the right level. We may not be having the right kind of weight behind us for whatever reason. Our competence may be lacking. We may not be aware of the rules and such like. So all those lead to a reduced level as far as one's personality is concerned. I think, sir, you put it across wonderfully. You told us precisely where the gaps are concerned. Those, in any case, will take place. Those rules will come in there. That, in any case, are my bread and butter. I ought to know that. But to implement them, I must have the weight behind me, the weight of the organization. The weight of the organization comes through my personality. And that's where, friends, our personality comes in. That's where Colonel Bindra has spoken today, to improve those aspects of the personality, which will give you personal impetus, be it at home, like Colonel Bindra has been giving wonderful examples with the spouse, be it at home, be it with your family, be it with your relations, with your neighborhood, with your society, with the country, with the company at large, anywhere. If your right kind of communication is in place, these will automatically fall into place. So I really appreciate all those examples that you gave. Albert Meherbian's study, wonderful, sir. Paul Rankin's research, the role of managers. And, Colonel Bindra doesn't leave any chance. He brought Newton also here. The first law from Newton was also there. The law of inertia. He brings him also in here. sir, I really appreciate the gamut of activities that you incorporate into this thing. Right from the fighter pilot to the Pongo on the ground, his first foot on the ground. You covered all that. The manager on the ground is going to be handling all these activities. I think it's been wonderful, sir. We really appreciate. We're really fortunate that towards this end almost of the lockdowns that we've had an opportunity to be, listening to you. I'm sure, I'm sanguine that we'll be getting more such opportunities. We look forward, sir. It's been a wonderful session today, and more than anything else is the the strength with which Colonel Bindra conveys his points across. So emphatically, for that age and experience, I'm sure the strength in his voice will be double that people of half his age. The strength is double of what his people are at half his age. And that's the kind of strength, that is the kind of motivation which guides him. I think we're very fortunate, sir. We at GSC is very fortunate that you took time off to join us today. And of course, a big thanks to Dipil. Also, Dipil, we've been sharing the way you've been controlling and handling the chat boxes, been wonderful. And of course, and our special thanks to my team out here, both Naresh and Akshay, who are the bridges who ensured, who could coordinate and get you here, sir. I think we're very fortunate that we got an opportunity to hear you out here. And folks, they've already shared that they have so many things that they keep going ahead. And Colonel Bindra didn't even leave alcohol also. He's brought them also in. He says the 9th chapter of alcohol is also there. Alcohol Anonymous is also there. So go ahead, join over there. Take this opportunity. I think it's very, very fortunate that we have speakers like them out here in our fraternity, and we can learn so much from them. I have only so much to say. Of course, my sincere thanks always to our audience who comes forward and joins in over here. At one stage, we had touched a figure of 70 plus. Then some people messaged me that they had to leave early, so they had to. We understand that they have so many other commitments also, but a figure of 70, 75 is where we had reached. And I'm sure next time when we get an opportunity, this figure will certainly jump into triple figures also, because the word spreads very fast in our fraternity. So we have once again a very, very big thanks to you, sir. Thanks, of course, to my friend out here, Jatin, who's always our coordinator, sir. He ensures that all our activities go smoothly. I have only that much to say, sir.
Dipil wants to say something. Dipil has raised his hand. Colonel Ashok, thank you so much for the kind words. Dipil, I think, wants to say something. I can't see him, of course. Yeah, Dipil.
Dipil, you'll have to unmute yourself, or Jatin, you may have to unmute him.
Thank you. Thanks, Jatin. Extremely sorry, Colonel and Colonel Ashok, and as everyone in the call, it was a terrible network issue was at my end. In fact, I was having third backup of my Wi-Fi, so the third backup works now. From my phone, I connected to the laptop now. So 2 Wi-Fi in the, it was not functioning. So thank you very much, Colonel Bindra, for that wonderful facilitation, and thanks to entire team of GSCS for giving us this opportunity. I just thought of coming in and saying that thanks. That's it.
Okay, your audio is again gone. Your audio is gone.
So I can see some. In the meantime, so use this opportunity. I can see some feedback coming in on the chat box. Mrs. Neera Bindra also gives excellent coaching for specific problems that the participants may be having. People are saying that they have taken coaching from Mrs. Bindra also and feel blessed. I think it's wonderful. Somebody says I've attended at least 4 sessions from Colonel Bindra since May 2020 on soft skills, conflict resolution, facilitation skills, personal effectiveness. That just goes to prove what the strength that our leader has today, sir. I think we're very fortunate, sir.
Thank you so much. So my last word, Colonel Ashok, besides thanking you and your team and the complete platform of GSCS, is that make your toughest friend as your best friend, and your toughest friend is your spouse at home. So this is a great time to make use of the lockdown, great time to improve your behaviors, take feedback. It's not going to be easy. But, in the last 4 months, if I have improved, I owe it to Neera Bindra, my spouse, who is, like Colonel Prabhakar said, is an international certified, International Coaching Federation certified coach. So with that, I say namaskar, the global way of greeting people in these lockdown times. Good luck, goodbye, and be safe. And remember, the whole industry is depending on you. So go and set them to the right path. Good luck and bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye, sir.
we are ending this meeting now. Thank you so much, everyone.